Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and I wanted to believe that Marvel, the MCU, would not be stupid enough to do what they've done with Captain Marvel. In the lead up to this movie, there's been a lot of vitriol back and forth. Oh, this is going to be a woked up mess. Oh, you man haters can go jump off a cliff, blah, blah, blah. And I tried to stay somewhat objective. I'm like, I'm a big fan of the MCU. I thought Avengers Endgame was the absolute perfection of a superhero movie. Just the emotional notes it hits, the story it's trying to tell, the amazing villain, Thanos, who has a lot of complexity and depth to his character. I thought it was perfect, especially when you compare it to that Hershey squirt of a movie, Justice League, where Steppenwolf, and that name always just makes me laugh. It makes me think of that Canadian band. I think they're Canadian. The Steppenwolf seem more like a nuisance than an actual threat. That sucked. And when you compare it to Infinity War, with Thanos as a compelling villain, as a credible threat, there's no comparison. So I was willing to give Captain Marvel the benefit of a doubt. I mean, these people at the MCU, Kevin Feige, seem to know what they're doing. And there's no way they're going to derail their own franchise with a woked up mess. But that's exactly what they've done. It leaves me speechless that if this is the standard bearer for what a feminist should be, devoid of human emotion, full of man-hating tropes, we're in trouble. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is probably still searching for his meat and two veg after this complete emasculation. And the common thing is that feminism does nothing but, or doesn't exist to do anything but knock men down, and that appears to be the case. And I want to point out one thing, and I'm not showing a whole lot of clips or pictures because I don't want to risk a copyright strike. There's a scene where Samuel L. Jackson lifts a sheet to inspect a dead Skrull, and he's doing it ostensibly with all the feminists just giggling and chuckling at his man antics, ostensibly to see if his pecker is larger than his own pecker, just to do some dick comparisons post-mortem. And that might not be an accurate test in any case, because I'm sure Skrulls, even though they're aliens, get some sort of rigor mortis. I'm sure there's going to be some swelling going on. So his unit could appear quite impressive dead. Who knows? The fact of the matter is, if that's what feminists think men do, perhaps they should cast their conceived notions aside, all their biases, actually maybe talk to a man, maybe have lunch with a man, probe his thoughts, test his heart a little bit, and you see that most men don't wander into a room wondering how big his dick is. This isn't a Monty Python is not real life. And that was offensive. I always say, all these people, it's 9 o'clock. How many times have you been offended today? And how silly people are, and how the Twitterverse is just a roiling cesspool of offended people, and I always laugh. But my God, I mean, that's just one of many quote unquote jokes that failed to land in this film. And I have a quick story. I'm full of stories. Y'all know that by now. What was the year? It was 1994, 95, right around when this movie is set, coincidentally. I was helping my friend out. He was the manager of a bookstore in downtown Cincinnati, and he needed some help, so I wasn't doing anything. I went down to Cincinnati to help him out. And it just so happened that weekend, the supermodel Fabio was in town to do a book and calendar signing, and all these people were coming up to buy books with his image on the cover, buy calendars of Fabio, and get in line and get them signed. Sold a lot of stuff. It was a good sized crowd, obviously. Towards the end of the day, things are winding down. The doors are closed, all the customers are gone. I wander into the nearest restroom to answer the call of the wild. I'm standing there at the urinal, and the door opens, and I see out of the corner of my eye, it is none other than Fabio coming into the restroom. And he surveys the situation and saddles up to the urinal right next to mine. So there's Fabio, a supermodel, world famous, known for his pulchritude and magnetic charm, standing right next to me with his fly unzipped, doing his business. And if ever you're going to get into a cock-blocking situation, a dick comparison, that's the time to do it. And why not? I'm an average Joe, and now I have the opportunity to dick compare Fabio. All I have to do is look. But I did not look, because men don't do that. I don't care how big his unit is. And then, this urination session seemed to last forever, with Fabio standing right next to me. All of a sudden he goes, "Hey man." And that is one thing you usually don't do unless you know the person you're urinating next to. You usually just want to pee, shake, zip up, wash hands, and go. I'm not interested in striking up a conversation with a fellow urinator. But there's Fabio. "Hey man," with his, slight Italian accent. And I kind of glance over, and he's smiling, and he's like, where's a good place to get some dinner in this town? It was a fair question. I mean, he's not from Cincinnati, and he's, spent a long afternoon signing books and calendars. He's hungry. He's looking for a place to eat. But here I am, unzipped. He's unzipped in our urination process, and he wants to have a conversation with me. And so I fasten my Steely Blues on his Steely Blues, and I say, well, the precinct is really good. It's a steakhouse east of town, there on the river. Really good. Really pricey, but I'm sure that's not an issue for our man, Fabio. And he nodded and smiled and thanked me, and then we concluded, zipped up, washed hands, and that was the end of the encounter. At no time did I look at his dick. I wondered, but in the final analysis, it was irrelevant. I couldn't care less how much meat he's got, or how much more or less meat he has than I do. I couldn't care less. And once we walked out, I walked out smiling. Fabio seems like a down to earth guy. He doesn't seem like a hoity-toity celebrity. He just seemed like a decent person. I'm just basing my thoughts on that brief encounter, but he caught a good vibe. He has charisma. Charisma is important, isn't it, Bree? That can open a lot of doors. It can really change hearts and minds. A little bit of charm can go a long way. Anyways, my greatest fears came true. Captain Marvel, without spoiling it, is straight garbage. I was actually pulling for the MCU because I love this universe that's been created over the past, 10, 15 years, however long it's been. and this is something that can spell the end of everything that's been built. This movie was nothing other than to create fake cred, fake cachet for this character that nobody likes. They also okay, here we go. They also crapped all over the history of Captain Marvel within Marvel Comics. I'm not talking about Shazam. That's a whole nother story. My favorite, as you know from previous videos I've made, my favorite superhero when I was growing up was Captain Marvel, but it was the guy, Walter Lawson. And I figured when this film came out, they would just sort of forget, or not even go there, not even address Dr. Walter Lawson. But no, they did a Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, and they gender changed him, turned him into a girl. There was absolutely no need to do that. Carol Danvers was a whole different person. She was a spin-off character. Became Miss Marvel. Had her shit siphoned away by Rogue. Became binary. And then became Captain Marvel later on. That's what I figured would kind of sort of happen. But no, they completely erased Dr. Walter Lawson and turned him into a her. And that, I guess since he was my favorite superhero growing up, that did it for me. I was no longer invested. I couldn't care less. Call me a fanboy. Call me whatever the hell you want. I don't give two shits. At least I'm not worrying about the size of a supermodel's dick. This is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Go see Alita Battle Angel. Go get your Aliens DVDs out. Get your Terminator DVDs out. Invest yourself in real feminine heroes. Ripley. Sarah Connor. You know, I'm even going to say Captain Janeway. Loved her. What an example. I mean, she made a lot of bad decisions, but Star Trek Voyager loved to put her in impossible ethical situations where there's really no good answer. But if I was going to be stuck on the other side of the galaxy in a tin can, I would want a leader like Captain Janeway. She was perfect. She was stern when she had to be stern. She was motherly when she needed to be motherly. She was perfect. Carol Danvers, Brie Larson, could take a page out of her book and not be a absolute soulless wooden automaton. It can be something much more. An actual human being. How about that?